Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever una dey in the world. For una we listeners, we know how we can conduct this broadcasting. This is Mr. Shilon coming to una from North Carolina, and my co-host, now Mr. Victor Mengam, who comes to you from England. And then, of course, we have the distinguished, or a distinguished guest, the preeminent lawyer in Sierra Leone and from Sierra Leone, and the Right Honorable Charles Margai. So I think just in mere presence on the show today should generate a lot of interest and a lot of listening, because he always get a lot for say, a lot of new things for say, and for educate the rest of we. Today, na June 11th, Sunday, I just try to remind you briefly that we do have a certain protocol in the rules of engagement on the show. We always know say we for conduct ourselves respectably and respectfully to each other and to ourselves, and that the show itself, everybody knows say the show is a live show. So as at the talk show, we're being carried on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. So people have access to we from all angles, and then we'll get an interchange in the sense that anybody can call. We allot you 3 minutes, but because we get a guest, we will suggest that people then hold and calls. We're gonna go call, but let us know you are. We may not be able to give people in the 3 minutes we normally can allot to now, because we only get with distinguished guests on the show for an hour. So normally the 3 minutes we can allot people that we may not be able to do that. But let's see how they go. That said, I want for make una know say the show is live. Now we get some numbers, then we can normally encourage people and for call in case then they're in a certain countries. So we also want for get those numbers out there. If you call in, we have a toll-free number, winner 1-866-944-7722. 866-944-7722. We get a call, if you're calling from England, it will be plus, the sign, plus 44 2080 891455. 44 2080 891455. If you're calling from Australia, it will be plus 61 2909 84337. From Australia, it will be plus 61 2909 843377. And of course, if you're calling on WhatsApp, it will be 1-343-997-5828. 1-343-997-5828. And as we know, we're approaching supposedly, and I say supposedly, the election. But it is my understanding that lawyer Margai has filed some papers with the Supreme Court that may, if sustained, may lead to a postponement of the elections. So all of that we'll discuss in this broadcasting. So because of that, having somebody like lawyer Margai, who is one of the main contenders then for the presidency, will be a great enlightenment to the rest of we, for let we know how the country to go, which direction, and we'll get the opportunity for ask him some other question. In brief, let me just turn you over to my co-host, Mr. Victor Mengam, who is co-hosting with me from England. And so he needs no introduction. He can introduce himself, and we'll go forward from there. Mr. Mengam, I pass it over to you.
Well, Fambulem, in a good evening, good afternoon, And as in I know, I join me co-host Mr. Shilon, me and Victor Akumengot, from broadcasting from the UK in Surrey, sunny Surrey. The weather don't hot now. We'll get for the use fan, thank God. And as in all know, my own key area of interest in the development of Sierra Leone, apart from the transport background, now free reform. And almost 5 years ago, I set up the Sierra Leone Parliamentary Watch, where we'll get over 81,000 people. We want to bring Parliament closer to the people. And these are all things we're going to talk about today, because we get a lot of things for talk about constitutional reforms, something that we don't quote, and even the way parliaments they operate in terms of standing orders. And one of the things where our keen of will look at now the difference between a constitutional statutory instrument and an ordinary statutory instrument. So we hope saying I will get a very good show. So over to the lead host, we're going to now take we through.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we get with distinguished guests on the show. So my producer overheard some of the discussion we'll be to get with lawyer Margai. So he thinks that this will be that camaraderie, that familiarity, that expression of having known each other as far back as Bo. He may not have known me, but because he's the big one. So my producer is kind of impressed by the fact that the audience may be impressed for just they know the human side. It's not all politics. It's not all lawyering. That lawyer Margai is a real person, just like I am. And let us just know how me get for know. Let me talk a little bit about both. So that said, lawyer Margai, we will not talk about that briefly, but I just want for me to go over the fact that me say in the 60s, just after independence, 61, 62, I think around that time there, I get to know you because I was a kid. Well, a teenager. I was in Bo. Then you were at CKC, and I know you to have been the goalkeeper for CKC and a very good goalkeeper for that matter. So, in fact, the best thing we had in town in Bo in those days in the 60s was soccer. Nothing else entertaining as much as soccer. So I am familiar with the name Charles Margai as far back as then. And people also need to know that you were an athlete. And as you express, you play cricket, you play other things then. So please, if you don't mind, just give a little gist of your days in Bo at CKC. Oh, very quickly also, let me just add, if I might add, there is one closeness I get with you. I think you beget a schoolmate by the name of John Sad, who I think became one of you minister them subsequently, where John Sad and I literally in Pendembu, Kalaun district, Upper Bambara chiefdom, we're gonna date John Sad Bide. We share a common fence. Looking house, look we house. Within a flat, then a two-story. So I remember John Sad was your schoolmate also. So that said, make a pass over to you, sir. Feel free to say whatever you want to say. Then we'll go forward from there.
Thank you very much for that brief introduction. Starting with John Sad. John Sad now be a friend and a brother. John then entered CKC in 1958. Me enter in 1959. Moving along the line, John Sad became prefect of CKC, senior prefect. When he left, now me take over as senior prefect. John na be a real martinet. Although na you party, but John not been the compromise on discipline and principles. Now that make I been respect them. And that make we agree. So when we come back home, I ultimately found the People's Movement for Democratic Change. John not been get any hesitation for become an active member. So when we give support to APC in the runoff in 2007, President Nkrumah graciously offered we some ministerial positions. And one of the first people then we come to mind, where I believe say we get the capability, the integrity, and the ability for serve this nation, Nabin John Sad, and he not let me down at all. It was unfortunate that halfway through this marriage, APC been decide for drop the ministers who have been present. But as CKC, those were glorious days. My only regret is that when I've been past the common entrance, me daddy been very friendly with one of the big men them, na McKinney. So he been want make her go St. Francis. And I wish I been go St. Francis, because one of the regrets where I get, where I not go St. Francis, I not able to learn the Timini language. Because that, I mean, they look forward to. But of course, relations of mine, we've been able school and CKC, now them been prevail upon me, say, make I go CKC, and I not been get regrets at all. I really enjoy my stay and time and make so many friends, not only in CKC, Bo School, UCC, QRS, you name it. Me, as I tell you, I become the goalkeeper of CKC, where they from 2 KC team until I left in August 1964 for go continue my schooling. Blackrock College, Dublin, Ireland. I attend colleges, Blackrock College, Christ King College. So now the difference that between me and a lot of other people that way go secondary school, you go see that. Now, when we been in school, as I've been saying, especially both school, we not be no tribe. We all have been brothers, and we all interacted without reservation. You know they know that gentry, you know they know that poor. We will stand by each other in times of difficulties, in times of joyfulness, etc., etc. Tribalism, it don't in wisdom and mercy make a unite of Samuel Margai when I be late. Remember, we been forgot play football in Gambia, but then the friends saying be arrange a tour for Camp Freetown. You know, young men them, we can mix with them, Titiren, St. Joseph's Convent, etc., etc. So I refuse for go on this tour. So we hire a meal kilo, we come Freetown, not knowing to say Father Hinian, been don't send telegram to me, daddy, say I disobliging, I disobedient. Me not be no. So Papa arranged for can discipline me before the school. So Father Hinian be no, but then he been get a regret later on. So the day where Papa they travel from Freetown to Bo, that end by Serabu they pass. Now Father Hinian say, make her come near. He want go Serabu, so we go. But not tell me one word. So as we approach Serabu, now I see this humble super snipe they can ask if I say na mi daddy motoka that one day. When I look inside the motoka, at the back of the seat, now so rattan I see it. Now I say, what could this be meant for? So later on now, my father confessed to me, say, Papa been the camp for can't discipline me. So Mr. Bindon say, I say now God make it not be take place, because Mr. make my mind say, if that discipline they take place, I go run away, I go Liberia. So those were all days of joy, and you know, we're not just having with for them. We go through the rigors of life. Agladi, Abingo CKC.
What?
say I made so many.
All right, Mr. Mengot, let me pass it over to you. Go with the first questions, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, Mr. Margai, one of the things where I want to let you rub much today, because the first topic we look at, because as people they say, you know the man will be served the shortest term as Attorney General and Chief Justice. And we know say there's a lot of things that we don't do in terms of getting the Supreme Court for look into the constitutionality and some of the decisions the way they take. While you got much small pan this issue of the role of the Supreme Court and access to justice. Because another thing where I think say you go look for explain to me, because in Sierra Leone now, lots of issues them where they come up, we border on the constitution. And like South Africa, they get constitutional court. We not get constitutional court. Is there any room for constitutional court? Because some of these judges, the way, as we see, even the recent decision we didn't take, you get some people that will say, these are judges who have not, they not get that much grasp of how to be a sort of a buffer between the executive and parliament. So what you going to answer about that in terms of dispensation of justice?
Thank you very much, sir. You see, this na my own baby, justice. Justice to me, na the hub, the wheel around which the law they revolve. What do I mean by that? In any society without justice no day, na anarchy then go prevail, and that go lead to disorder na the society. The rule of law, even up to Shaka Stevens in time of blessed memory, people then be no say justice been there for everybody, irrespective of your status, irrespective of the political party or leaning where you were. But rather, unfortunately, I'm not going to say the same for today, which is a shame. Not to say we'll not get competent people for administer justice. I don't know if not the poverty or greed or a combination of both. But rather, unfortunately, justice as we know am not a prevail na Sierra Leone today. Me no they say the judiciary corrupt, because corruption dey in so many facets. Money corruption dey, property corruption dey, other corruption than dey. But the rule of law don't really left behind. So much so that people they not get respect for the judiciary. And me says Naya, I can tell you, say, I get me doubts about justice being done in our courts. Take, for example, case in a court. Me not believe with me experience, over 51 years of legal practice, say any case for take more than 3 weeks, not any court of law. But then, as I knew today, you can get case, it'll take 10 years, 15 years. So by the time they get redress, you know me not again, especially within the economy, they flip-flop. And frankly, when me not being Attorney General, although the shortest serving Attorney General in the history of this country for 3 months, I've been get a roadmap. And that roadmap been geared towards improving justice. Now, this is the roadmap Incidentally, Justice Fisher, na be me PRO, it be one of the things where I've been trying to introduce for make sure, say, we shorten the length of justice by having a high court judge and a magistrate, sitting magistrate in every district in this country. Also, I've been want for prosecute the magistrates courts because we get boku lawyer there now. So man they go to court, he join the audience because he not get case. The direction of the Attorney General. And then thirdly, I be want make we separate the two offices of Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Because I see we get Napoleon Kuruma, I really don't know what's in designation, whether na Deputy Attorney General, na Deputy Minister of Justice, I have no idea. Because Section 64 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone talks of Attorney General and Minister of Justice. And the only institution we get the power, the legitimacy for separate them two offices, na Parliament. And to become an Attorney General in Sierra Leone, you for don't do at least 20 years from call to the bar. In other words, you for be competent for be a Supreme Court judge. And I'm sure at the time Napoleon was appointed deputy, whether Attorney General or Minister of Justice, he was far below 20 years. Because the Bobo Sefwe are trained, now na big man lawyer Kowa, he did 17 years with me, understudying me. He was not qualified, let alone Napoleon, where is senior by part two. So you see, we get for make sure, say, we act in consonance with the Constitution. As Attorney General, when President appoints me, President not been the refer legal matters to me, and me not been the chief legal advisor to the government. So one day I sit down, I call me deputy. In fact, there should not be a deputy in the office of the Attorney General. If you look at the 1991 Constitution, now the only ministry that one day where they mention by name, no other ministry they don't mention. So I call Abdullah Bangura, we now na the chairman of PPRC. I say, bo, now this night they happen. So I want we try address this issue. Every morning, I've been to get a meeting for about 1 hour with me deputy, the Solicitor General, and the Director of Public Prosecutions. We now na a Court of Appeal judge, Sulaiman Ba. So now I say, well, I write a letter to the President and tell and say, he bound for consult me on constitutional matters. I said, because if we not do this, if things go haywire, people then go blame we. Then say, but Nawuna na be the Attorney General and Deputy. So I write a very nice letter. I say, you don't appoint 9 people them where they not qualify for the ministers. I say, because before their appointment, they mean they work as government officials. And according to Section 76(1)(b) of the Constitution, they mean for don't resign 12 months. I not believe in that one day because I think say it's too harsh. Because if you they work, let's say 1 million or 2 million, we go barely sustain you. Then you get for resign 12 months to your appointment. You not take time UF go left you because you not go able to support the home.
That's true.
So I tell and say number 2, I say because if you as president, you not go by the way they can impeach you for misconduct under Section 51 of the Constitution. I say the president don't appoint Professor David Francis as chief minister. I say the position of chief minister in no feature. I mean, don't forget about chief minister since the early 60s, late 60s, early 70s. I say so. I want to make president look at them two things then. Yeah, otherwise it open himself to impeachment. I copy David Francis. Shortly after that, now they get a meeting. David Francis, the Speaker of Parliament, Brewer, Napoleon, and others, then they go make representation to President Semino to team player. That resulted in my sacking. But not only that, I call the judges them, I tell them, say, according to the Constitution, 137, I say, you know, for continue in office as a judge, when you don't pass the age of 65. I say, me, as Attorney General and Minister of Justice, I say, I no go tolerate any judge for remain in office where he done 65 years. I say, because experience will show me, say, when judges, then you give them extension of time, they know they interpret the law again as they should, waiting at the paramount concern now for do favors for the powers that be so that they go continue as judges. Then Margai, he say me don't push out of work. But I've been pleased me God and the conscience, and I was Attorney General, not for DC or APC or SLPP. I was Attorney General for the people of Sierra Leone, and they expected me to act accordingly, which I did. I have no regrets whatsoever. So coming back to the judiciary, I pray God say, God will bless me and the people of Sierra Leone make our occupy state house and bring about the necessary changes. We will make themselves feel very, very happy as Sierra Leoneans and proud for the judiciary we will get. We get very competent people there. We don't need for bring anybody from outside. But the problem here is that the ones that were competent, because they're not ready for play ball with the authorities, then they deliberately skip them and bring them men them. Man we perhaps no ever practice law, you know ever darken the walls of a courtroom. You tell her and say make a draft a summons, you know, go no which side for start. The things we are the pray God for we are going to introduce now for make president no the power for appoint judges. We will get an independent, committed committee when then go they in charge of appointments of not only judges but public officials. Because Parliament, with respect, they not want to me, they not go crazy to them because they know the possible be. But people that we don't go through Parliament for make them vet them, go tell you say when you go for vetting, then they ask you for pay in dollars. If you not pay, they know they sanction you. Me, they not bring an account to me. And I'm sure they no go there. So those are some of the areas we will have to look at. The judiciary and really bring them to waiting it for be so that we as Sierra Leoneans will be proud of the judiciary. Yeri, you talk briefly about the most recent decision. And the things say what you've been to talk about, now where them in go challenge this application for move from first past the post to proportional representation. I hope I'm right. Now, if you look at the law, we amend Section 38 of the Constitution, we bring in Section 38A of the Constitution, 9 talk about implementation of proportional representation as a method of voting. We've been using them in 1996 and 2002 in the days of President Tijan Kaba. But now reason we could be use them. We know say there was a war situation and we could not access all of the constituencies. Now make we be resort to that one day. But now there is a semblance of peace. So there is no justification for it. But even if you want for resort to RAM, Section 38A of the Constitution say 2 conditions must each be present at the same time. Firstly, the Chief Commissioner for don't declare a date, where he been do. And secondly, there should not be in existence defined constituency boundaries. Well, if constituency boundaries are not been, there will not be forget members of parliament. So since the second limb not been there, me, I'm baffled how the Supreme Court arrived at dismissing the action. There was no need going to Bangbatu, Cambia, Kabbalah for answer that question. It was simple and straightforward. But then we may have to look into some of those things in the future.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Mr. Mengot, you have, and that's section 38 and 38A. Mr. Mengot,
okay, Margai, one thing I'll let you talk about, you don't mention this PR system. And me for me, yeah, and for me, yeah. Now, I just want to bring this point, like, find something for me. Because one of my main concerns is the use of Parliament to pass particular law. Because when they begin to discuss this issue of the PR system, I remember parliamentary it was a constitutional amendment, and a constitutional amendment needs 2/3 majority. So if they then therefore use a constitutional statutory instrument as opposed to an ordinary statutory instrument, if you go, the people that were opposed 30 and 14 days, it become law. In my view, and based on my knowledge of Parliament, now issue that they will get for look at, because the burden of proof should be on the proposer, not the one. So can you this difference between a constitutional statutory instrument and an ordinary statutory instrument, and whether this system where you can go, you take a statutory instrument and say, if the people that were opposed and not get 2/3 majority, after 15 days it becomes law.
One clause we'll go get for look at. When government want for rush certain laws, then they go under this umbrella, say, will they lay the bill before Parliament. If after 21 days, and the speaker not they allow any debate. So they shut the door to even the democratic values of debate. So when the bill done there for about 21 days, then automatically it becomes law. We'll get for look at that very critically. But between me and you two, me believe say Parliament, to me, if God make occupy the chair in consultation with all of the political parties, then we look at the law. First of all, me not believe a small salon forget 17 registered political parties then. I believe say maximum 5, minimum 3. Because little difference, if at all, 9 days between the ideology and philosophy, if any. So we get for look at all them things then they. And this question where you don't raise is very pertinent. Whether we for continue forget such a clause that we constitution say parliamentarians enough for debate statutes And when they lay down before Parliament for 21 days, automatically then become law. I think that is very draconian and very undemocratic. We will get for a look at that one day. Because if we're not careful, we go cut we own throat with we own neck, not realizing to me the member, if I may say this, if God make us succeed, I go consult with all the parties them for make we look at the way politics is practiced in Sierra Leone. By that I mean, for every election except presidential election, all other elections, parliamentary, local council, mayoral, etc., should be non-partisan. In other words, you know the team up now any party for go contest. You go there on your own steam. Then all this fet go down. And number two, I believe say again, we for look at even the presidential election. Even with the presidential election, if they get for come under party, we get for scrutinize everybody where they run for office as president, and not only him, but in wealth as well. Because I know I'm for say plenty things since this now on television and radio. But now the first 10 days, me they see, even in Europe, in Africa and Asia, present in where they take the platform for campaign. Stephen Slodwam, J.S. Momono Odwam, Prime Minister Albert Margai Odwam, Samilton Odwam, you know they happen in Nigeria, nowhere in Africa, and also Europe now. It's a novel practice where I think say we get for look into and discourage them if you know the born good picking.
Yeah, Mr. Mengot.
Me personally not get against the proportional representation. It gets a lot of advantages, in fact, more advantages than first. Number two, it reduces expenditure. And number three, it gives everybody equal opportunity, whether you're in the minority or not, it gives opportunity. But the only thing we are get against this particular one where they adopt, now where they circumvent the procedure. But that I not blame President Bio, not a lawyer, I blame the judiciary.
Mr. Mengot, you get any further question?
Thank you.
Mr. Mengot? Oh, anyway, control room, keep we posted if there is any irregularity. So
I think we are getting some with the whole
okay
thing.
now. Okay,
So,
Mr. Mengot,
I mean,
go ahead.
as I understand what Margai say, for we listeners say, left on his own, if he become president, one of the things he go say, apart from presidential election, all other election, people for stand on their own. So that is no party. You don't forget for stand or this use of these statutory instruments them for pass laws, then which means if they're not able to amend them after 21 days, it become law. So over to Mr. Shillon, because this is not your area, you're not a lawyer. So you go and ask we guess some key issues them, especially for do with the judiciary or the law or the constitution. So Mr. Shillon, it's up to you now, sir.
Well, there are so many things I would like to touch on the Constitution, but we are bound by limited time. So I just want to let Lawyer Margai just give me a vision. If he were to become president, knowing what he and I know, about the state of affairs of the judiciary and the judicial system. With respect to the prison
Hello?
system. Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sure. Very well.
Okay.
Very well.
Okay, with respect to the prison system. Yeah, and then with respect to the delivery of justice, because we have situations where we are well aware that that Pademba Road has become a warehouse of just people whose rights are being trampled over, people being arrested, kept in pre-trial detention, and then they did Pademba Road for years before they even bring them come to trial. And sometimes it's for something as trivial as a simple possession of marijuana, something as trivial as a traffic offense. So I just want, because I tend to follow, you thought that you are a very progressive thinker, despite the fact that coming from a man your age, we will not think that them progressive ideas are going to come from you. But you are so much a Renaissance man, I will call you, that some of the things that we you project seems to me what a country should be, a leader should be looking at in terms of wanting to take the country to the next step or and further. That said, I just want to make you give me a vision, just express your own vision. Me get me own. If I in a different setting, I will express that. But this show is for you as a presidential aspirant. So please give me watching you how you intend to improve the system.
Thank you, Mr. Shillon. You see, the ideas here have been done, they nurture them over the years. But if the citizenry not give you the chance for occupy the position from which side you go able for implement the ideas here, there is very little you can do. You see, one of the things where I regret now the delay of justice. Waiting I've been get as part of my blueprint will be one pool preliminary investigations, because then they waste a lot of time. So when they get a dichotomy, you get summary offenses where perhaps we will improve the jurisdiction of the court, now 5 years, in hybrid cases, 7 years. Maybe we'll go increase it to 10 years, and fines as well. So that when we do that one day, you know, they go magistrate court for preliminary investigation if there is a semblance of criminality, then they send and go high court where you go get for wait for another 2-3 years. The magistrate go get the power for try you. If he find you guilty, he sentence you. If he not find you guilty, he acquit you. Then we will get indictable offenses. Then serious, very serious offenses. When you want to charge somebody, they come with a procedure what they call 136 procedure. You come with a notice of motion before a high court judge. You exhibit all your evidence. So he go look at them. From your experience, he go know whether case day or case not day. Because it better make 100 guilty people then suffer than one innocent person. So he go look at the whole gamut of the case where you don't present to them, plus exhibits, etc., etc. If he find out, say yes, there is a semblance of criminality, then you will go to trial. If not, he acquit you. So that will speed up the justice system. And also, I've been one for put an end to this jury trial, because a lot of corruption they take place there. I remember in 1975, I go do a murder case in Akono. The accused was a 23-year-old man who they called Stephen Mafinda. I don't forget his name. he knock somebody at the back of his head, he kill him because he suspects say he keep him wealth. But on a technicality, I free him. When I free him, when I come on a door, I hear one of the jurors then say, hey, Margai, the English way they talk, me say no, they understand. So you can imagine, consider whether jury trial deserve justice or not. In the case of capital punishment, crimes where they carry the death penalty, then we go do what them they do at the special court, where them they trying and Norman and others. Now the high court will now get 3 judges them. If they convict, you know they go court of appeal again, you do go straight Supreme Court. So they shorten the time. So all their method and they are short say if we and the other political party and the people of this country look at them proposal then they and we convince say it go speed justice, not only speed justice, but it go bring fair play in the administration of justice, then of course we go implement them.
All right, sir. You just mentioned a couple of things. You just mentioned a couple of things. Again, like I said, today the show is for you. So even if I don't agree with you on certain things, this is not the appropriate forum for raising any such thing. Like the jury issue you just raised, I think, in our profession, they say reasonable men can differ. I think so. The abolition of the jury system, in my view, I would think that should be a discussion for down the road, because I think there's a much stronger argument still, in spite of the corruption or the perceived corruption of the jury. I think that will be the challenge of our times, but I don't think we can just cut and run by just simply saying there's corruption. I think there's more justice when you're tried by a jury of your peers than to entrust a judge or judges who have their own biases too. But these are debatable things. Like I say, in our profession, reasonable men could differ. But I happen to be...
That you say we go through to the nation, we simplify the discussion so that everybody will understand and make their contribution. I agree with you. Not to think we'll just impose.
Yeah.
Those are just ideas.
Another thing, I listen to you talk.
For divide the office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the reason being that, imagine if you're not Attorney General and Minister of Justice. I mean, you go find it difficult for prosecute your fellow ministers, don't you so?
Correct.
But if you're not Attorney General, like Macaulay Senior, it gets a free hand. Whether you're a minister, you're a prime minister, even the president, Section 48(4), they talk about immunity, but it is not absolute. If he misconduct himself, Section 51, they fall on impeachment. And when once you impeach them, they lift the veil of immunity, and he could be prosecuted or litigated against like any Sierra Leonean.
And as a follow-up to what you just say, there are many ways, like you say, there are lots of smart Sierra Leoneans abroad and at home. In the judiciary, for some of us, I know because I listen to you, you've been in practice, or you've been, I think you're the oldest practitioner now in Sierra Leone, at least 51 years. I'm just a few years behind you. I've been practicing for 47, but I have been very actively engaged in the practice for all these 47 years in this country. Courtroom, trial attorney, immigration lawyer, federal cases, you name it, I have been involved. So I'm proud of the fact that I have the level of experience. There are many other people like me, because I know other Sierra Leoneans who have been public defenders in this country. And there are some ideas that back home, because of the limited exposure, the lawyers may not have. I give you an example. One time I met the Chief Justice Aderena Thomas made in the talk. Now the teller says Sierra Leone too small for get backlog of cases compared to what you mean know what you go on Usami Day. In this city of Raleigh where I live, this city will get several courts at in Wake County. We'll get courtroom 101. Courtroom 101, and you can check them if you don't believe me, disposes, this is one courtroom, disposes of as many as 700 cases a day. So there are methods and methodologies that we can speed up the justice system. So there are a lot of Sierra Leoneans abroad who can make meaningful contribution. But if we think, say, all the ideas they within the boundaries of Sierra Leone, not abroad, we are doing ourselves a great disfavor, because there are some of us, whether for value or not, we want to make meaningful contribution because we have participated in a sophisticated system like which in the Naya. And now that we want to carry back home. So I'm just hoping that if you were to win, because I love your views, and I think the country needs somebody like you, somebody who has progressive ideas, not necessarily to be right on all fronts, but at least with the right ideas for move forward. Because the system now as it is, I mean, the Malay is too much. There is no way we will go forward unless we get ideas like some of the things that we propose. So that said, let me just revert to section 38 and 38A.
So, Mr. Shillong, sorry. Mr. Shillong, sorry, sir. Before you go on, you don't mention a very important issue. You know, me believe, say, we in Sierra Leone will not get all the answers to illegal problems. We therefore establish a link with brothers and sisters who don't read law, don't get experience in other jurisdictions. So one of the obstacles where me being the plan for do as Attorney General, now for amend the law we say, not only when you qualify in England, Ireland, or Scotland, you forget the right for practice now, but that said, them don't amend them for say, it no matter which side you study law, you for can go law school now. Now rubbish that one day. As long as you don't qualify as a lawyer, no matter which side, you for can home, you attach yourself to an experienced lawyer of about 20 years standing, so that you become au fait with the laws of the land. But this obstacle here, they prevent well-meaning Sierra Leoneans, when a very competent, experienced attorneys, them, Nigeria, like America, Britain, from coming home. Because not all man want for Canada, but we no fit for go lecture you, they go fail you, simply because you not like you looks. So I want to amend the law. Once you don't qualify in a recognized country where you know say the law almost similar to we own, you know they go to no law school. You just attach yourself to a qualified lawyer of 20 standing practice.
Yes, I think we have a caller on the line, because let's bring this caller in and before we continue. That will be a good break.
Yeah, you can take that over, Mr. Mangum. Take that.
Yeah. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? Caller?
Hello, good afternoon, viewers. Good afternoon. Excuse me. This is Fadima. How are you all doing?
Yes, Madam Fadima. We can hear you.
Margai. Yes. Excuse me, my voice. That's a question for Lawyer Margai. I can ask this question. Attorney General, Minister of Justice, he was dismissed because in a post where they ask questions and do things. And with the age of social media now, because that is a big concern that a lot of Sierra Leoneans are talking about. With the age of social media, where they see something where they happen right in, like they happen with the day live, where they see and with the hear. And a lot of people, you know, are afraid, even people within the diaspora and people on the ground, they are afraid to speak up when injustice they happen. And we don't see the people up. As soon as something happens or you say something, the CID, the police, and some maybe don't come up say, those are one of the judiciary and the police are one of the most corrupt institutions in Sierra Leone. And so now these people are out there, as soon as something, they acting as if they are working for the sitting government and not the people to protect the people, because their work as police are for protect the citizens and make sure they're waiting in court. But nobody is saying anything. People are being held without, just because they don't like what you talk or what you say or really challenge. Like for you could walk away because you know the law and you say they could not touch you. But then what about the innocent people? Who is going to fight for them? Let's see how you can address that, because this is something that is really, really bugging us. As soon as something, you see the CID go all you, they go looking at CID, they begin to intimidate you. I mean, how long are we going to do this? How long? 2023, we still depend this. And it is going on present. We don't begin from granite and tempted and depend this. So now my own question handed to you, how would you address that? Because you say, if you have a chance to do, and you are the voices, you are maybe the untouchable voices of Sierra Leone, where they right now. So what can you do to help see the people them, at least let them get a right, let them get them freedom for express, as long as they're not causing any chaos or trouble? How can you address that, sir?
You're quite right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that wonderful question. You know, na Trangaye's no more 9 day pan the police them. When me na be Minister of Internal Affairs and Local Government in the days of President Kaba, that time we get Keith Bidul, an Englishman, as IGP. I tell the police and repeatedly say, not even the president or the republic get the right for tell you, say, go arrest that person, you go arrest them. Let alone put an accord. If the president gets anything against Charles Margai, like any other person, he'll go make statement either directly or through the Attorney General. Statement saying so and so the matter to the office of the DP advise prosecution. But you see, I commend the military. I mean, I seek no favors from them. But as they compare the military of yesterday and the military of today, I really commend them. Then they behave very professionally, except in very exceptional circumstances where perhaps I not go blame them, it not come to their knowledge as superior officers them, where some ministers they now, then they go take military uniform, then they give them rally about them, for go impersonate the military and cause mayhem, etc., etc. But the police, now a problematic institution in this country. And we really get for look at the functioning of the police, how then they employ them, etc., etc. You go find out, say, this OSD, when APC been in power, now then them in the use for go molest SLPP people them and other opposition people them. Now that SLPP in power, now the very OSD then they use again for go molest the opposition them. I've been there at Wilkinson Road when APC then come on launch their manifesto. I watch when the people then they go home, they're not be even the process. You get them young OSD boy, where I doubt if some of them be actually recruit them, then hold this baton, then they whack the woman, then they picking them, say make them go home. This was around 5:30. Then they fire tear gas indiscriminately. When we not been bobo, then when wait man them in day in control, hardly you see them use tear gas. I know say now live fire. Now truncheon them they use. If the situation volatile, it get out of hand, then they call the military for coming. But this Mark P where they bring come, it is not only misleading, but it is being misused to the disadvantage of the citizenry then. And even when matter come, somebody go lie for me, he say, "Oh, so Charles Margai say." Then they hold you, they refuse you bail. And they're not supposed to refuse you bail.
Exactly.
But we say they go port. We say they go port. This not we problem. But I want for assure you say, by God in power, that for them with that cutting tree for them. Now message God be the same. It was not only ominous, but God believes say the people of Sierra Leone deserve much more than what you would endure now. In other words, it was high time for regime change. And let us continue for pray to God fervently. God will intervene. All them want them. We don't mean well for this country. We get plans for bringing chaos during this election. Believe you me, some of them, by God in power, they no go see this election.
Okay, Mr. Mangum, you get something for say? I can go further. Mr. Mangum?
Mr. Sheila. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Mangum.
Yes.
You got any question? You got any questions?
Well, I think we don't eat it the 1 hour, but at least we can, for the benefit of our viewers and also with Mr. Margai, we can do another 15 minutes. 2 much
Okay.
for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Before
I say anything, we have another caller.
You've been telling me say that 4 issues with the address. We don't address just one. We not address the other 3 then yet. So me no mind.
Okay. Good.
How long gonna want to take me on for?
Okay.
Okay,
good.
That's good. That's good. Good to know. Yes.
Good, sir.
We have a caller on the line. Caller, what's your name and who you call from?
You been say, make I remind you, you say the judiciary, then parliamentary and government reform, political
alliance,
vision, CF Margai. Now then one
Hello?
Okay.
So now one
now take this call, then we'll go to the next topic we have been put today. Yeah, caller, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Briefly address the other.
Yes, sir. Just hold up. Just yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead. What's your name? Who side you call from? Hello.
The name is Idris. I'm calling from United States.
Okay, Idris. Thanks for calling. Go ahead. What's your question?
It's more like a contribution to some of the conversation. 2 topics I want to make mention. The last person we call, it talk about the police, and we talk about the judiciary. Now, let me first talk about the police, my own contribution, my thought.
Okay.
Everywhere in the world these days, the police, they overreact. They take the law into their hands. We all know that. So Sierra Leone exception. They are all part of it. But one thing also we realize as citizens of Sierra Leone, if you are a real patriot of Sierra Leone, one thing for realize, we the citizens, we set no reform we mind yet for live in a decent community. We have no reform we mind yet for live in a community. Now, when you don't reform your mind, and only that, we community will be better. You see something, you say this is wrong, you refuse to go. You see somebody that do something wrong, you say, hey, no, do this. You correct the person. Avoid the fighting, avoid the cursing, avoid all those things. Only that will make a look better, and we will start against the brutality of the police. Now, and then at the stage, we see how police they kill innocent people every day. The amount of people that police kill in this country, it's more than the amount of people that police kill
in any part of Africa. Police feel say, then get the law. The army is trained. The army is more disciplined. So now make another see army just to go out and go misbehave. But police, then they use the law into their hands. So the only thing we're able to do, Mr. Margai, we're not a politician them. We're not for try reform the police. Let this message go out. Are there for anybody, any politician who will come for make Salon better? If the APC camp, we go make Salon better, I go vote APC, I go support them. SLPP, I will support them. Mr. Margai, your party, I will support them. It's not about now this party, my papa, when me daddy born me, they been there, so now I go there, I die. No. That's one of the problems that we have in Africa, in Sierra Leone. You they see say you party where you papa then day, you forefathers then day. In order to do right. They are corrupt. They are mismanaging the country resources. But yet, we still they support them. So we certainly are sitting now, we get for reform. We don't have to always blame the politicians. They come with their own agenda. But when we don't reform with your mind, we're able to change the mindset of these politicians. Because if you not do well the first time, the second time, you know they go there again. Would they pull you commodity? That's the voice of the people. Now that no more go and throw in a big contribution. Thank you for the forum.
Thank you so much for the contribution. We appreciate it. Please continue for listening and encourage others to listen. And we appreciate every view. We not always will agree with every view, but every view is welcome. So thanks for calling. We have another caller on the line. Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's you call from?
Yeah, hello, Mr. Killer. How do you do?
Fine, sir. I hope you do well.
Yeah. Okay. Now, quick one. Some 2-3 questions I just want to ask Professor Charles Margai. The first one is, they've been saying after the election, after you don't vote, then go impose coffee order. So who's instant about that? They don't say as they don't vote so, then go impose coffee order. So who's instant about it? Then the number 2, they be say the regional counting. Now the result me for come on, but they don't change and say they no go the result you no go come out again. So who side they stand about it? And the most important one about the police, because we all know say Salon police from the time they wear their uniform, most of them if they not wearing uniform, we not go even sabi them if they wear civilian clothes no more. So we want know how they go put that side there. If police will go, it gets 13 hours so they work. When in shift finish, you know for them on uniform. So I want to let them fix that side of the police, not for them in uniform, when you know they per work, when you know they in duty. One. And the checkpoints in Bokuna the country. Now only Salon, I see checkpoints there all over the country. So checkpoints them. So the police then they're all over the place. So the corruption make it boku because all 10 are there on uniform. We don't know who that they per work, who that not they per work. And they're supposed for off. Like any workman no more. So how they go fix that problem there for we? So now that's no more I get for Mr. Charles Margai. Thank you very much.
Shilon, if you don't mind, just for 2 minutes, I want to combine the question with the speaker before this one pose and this one where you don't pose. The one before this one say the misconduct by the police is not unique to Sierra Leone. It is all over the world. Granted. But it not mean say because then they misbehave to citizens them na America, na England, we for do the same thing na ya. We na a smaller nation. We for able for show the outside world say we more disciplined, not because we black. We for always with man. We can set an example when the witch man say, go say, small sal, you not. And they take the lead, find out how we do them. Now, obviously, the army more disciplined than the police, but not to excuse for make every day the citizens and they decry the police. This now one issue I agree with the speaker. First time when they recruit somebody in the army or the police, they get standards where they follow. But now it goes surprise you for those say when they want for recruit now police, now politicians them, now then they recommend other them for recruit. Until and unless we stop that one day, we go continue for the get bad apples them na the police force. And we say you don't get one bad apple, you not shift them. Tomorrow, that one bad apple go multiply to 3, 4, 5, 10, and so on and so forth. So we get a lot of work for do, but me not believe say na a work we will not be able to accomplish. If we all determine for change the face of the police, so that we all go be proud of them. We get some good ones them. Now just a handful of them. Now then they bring this bad name to the company. They are sure say the company themselves embarrassed. Then tired with that and they always police. So first of all, government, me own government, no they allow police for be armed. The most way you go get na truncheon. You get tear gas. Then perhaps this tank where they spray water. If the situation go beyond the control of the police, they will go call the army. Now that then they for.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Margai. We'll get we'll get some more questions. Let's take a few questions since this is an interactive show. Hello, sure. Caller. What's your name? Where you to call from?
Hello. Yes, Mr. Shillong. Good evening, Mr. Margai. Good evening, and Mr. Mengo. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Say what you want to say.
Now, they get me, sir. Yes,
sir. Very clear.
Yeah,
very clear.
Okay, let's start by for tell Mr. Margai plenty thank you. I tell you thank you for bringing Mr. Margai na the forum, at this platform. I pray that let God give Mr. Margai long life, let God give him well body. We need people like Mr. Margai in that country today. Mr. Margai, I mean, when are the guest. Me personally, I feel for where able for become a president of that country today yet. And now with the age, maybe if you miss this time, I don't know really if we'll get in kind again. But I pray say he will get long life and we'll get a government who will consider for listen to advice. If only a government listen to them, to Mr. Margai advice, I don't feel so we'll get the kind toxic politics where they go on at Sierra Leone right now. Mr. Margai na a liberalist. Not a tribalist at all. Me where they talk to now, me na a different tribe from Ion. And no one call me tribe because that's no meaning, not meaningful. We are all Sierra Leoneans. And that's not Mr. Margai. And so they think. They call things by their names. Coming to the issue of the police, sir. Somebody call it the police then characters, the one in America. I don't see quite recently when police in America, they chase a criminal. It take them more than 2 to 3 hours. Then they use helicopter, then they use all form for chase and drone, everything. See, it change from one motor car to the other, from one truck to the other, as soon as they call on motor car, they hand that. Until the end, now he go stock some side, and inside he go stock back. the police and here for call another unit where it be said and count motoka where the people like I don't know really how for call them because me not in that field day. Just for defend themselves at the same time for capture that criminal day where they not go destroy life. And they imagine if now we don't Sierra Leone police, then they use more than how many magazines for scatter and for nyakanya. So please, that person will call for compare and the kind of way the people in the commit to America, where they talk about in the other part of the world, now criminals them, call criminals, the hardcore criminals, where it be say even the police them, if they not take their time, then they take the police their life. Unlike Sierra Leone, the issues then at Sierra Leone always now advantage than they seize to the civilians them. You understand? Just like somebody only placard, say one for protest or whatever. Now we don't government them. Now then they send the police them for go kill the people them. Now alone. Where America, not only the government or the police that they take up on their own for do what they do because of the second amendment to America, where it be say even the criminals and then get their own guns them. We end up guns and not they at all. So please, that person then not compare what they go in America and Sierra Leone. You know, I know see a lot of people in there at the line, but this immune little contribution. Let God continue for bless Una and Mr. Margai. Thank you.
Thank you
You're
very
quite
much,
right.
Kola.
Right. Shilon is right. You know why? You know why make her say it right?
Yeah.
We the politicians them. Now we they make the police and the ask me, my guy, when you picking them, call them, they can't join. We all go do what you want. Let we do. If we begin asking questions, then they Sierra go be a relatively peaceful country. Let us now go back to the days of Shaka Stevens when we been get election 1977. A contest under SLPP now Moyamba South 2 constituency. I had to take 25,000 men to go and protect 6 of us who were candidates for protect we lives them. I thank God, God be intervene. Die no commode. We don't have to go down that road again. We for they make progress, we not for stagnate or we retrogress. But all them problems, yeah, now we the politicians them, they introduce them, we they make the people then become poorer, and when they become poorer, then they lose their self-emotion, their self-control, they mind them. Waiting no more tell them nine and they do.
Thank you
Do we
very
have
much.
any more callers?
Yeah, we have.
I think so. We got
No,
this today.
Yeah, hello, caller. What's your name? Where
Hello?
you call from? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mina Jesse, they call from Abu Dhabi,
Abu Dhabi.
United
Yeah.
Arab Emirates.
Okay, Mr. Jesse. Nice for your
Get a
voice.
concern where I want to raise. First of all, I tell you plenty thank you for me to go spare at the time for me to come and talk to people them. Concerning about a case we get for do it, we buy land together with a host. One host we the man we build the place later can seek the host and the land, the one town lot cost about 60 something million. So when the man can die, we don't pay half of the money, about 30 something, 40.
Now, I just remind you, callers get 3 minutes, so speed up what you need to say. Let you not run out of time, you not make your point.
We don't.
Million.
I think so. We don't lost him.
Hello.
Yeah, go
Hello?
ahead. Go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. So now one time my colleague teacher away na Mr. Bangura, na he show me this place, and I have been the surveyor for this place. So we don't pay about 40 something million. The man can sick. When the man can sick, later he end up die. Right? So
Okay.
he been don't give the word to in the man when at the surveyor, when in at the mediator say the balance money made and get to in people them. Then the 10 million part of that money made and get this in girlfriend, we been they make the begin and get what while they do.
Okay, I want to remind you,
After we
say
this man
you get just
this
1
woman
minute
grab
left.
go
You
it
get just 1 minute
woman,
left by your question.
yeah.
So please speed it up.
Yeah. So now which are the time for talk is the court they delay cases them for judge. This woman then don't find out say get no document for that mistake, and while then they continue for join this case state today, they no able pass verdict. Now waiting una go do for me, una go able for at least give people and justice na that country there because some of you who don't come today for campaign now, they have money with they send another country there for me go.
Yeah, I think we've got the gist of your argument. So we guess go address that later on. Is there any other caller?
Yeah, there's supposed to. Oh, okay. There is no more caller, and I think somehow.
Yeah, there's one on the
Yes,
line.
there's one caller. Hello, caller. Which name your name?
Hello?
Say to call from. Yes, sir. Which name your name?
My name Joseph. They call from Ireland.
Okay,
I
Joseph.
really appreciate for the discussion and with my do let God continue for bless una. As soon as they try
Amen.
to educate with the Israelis and go there in the diaspora and even home. And I got some few questions where I would like for ask lawyer Margai. And the time where they be release as Attorney General, my question is that why it not be inform the people of Sierra Leone rather than just sit down silent, not say nothing, and even the president never pull any press release because this thing happened. The Sierra Leoneans begin for say all kind of words, and we believe until today, where you don't verify himself, you don't explain himself to we, where some of we don't know which might be the problem. And then the second question is that the PR system is really good for the Sierra Leoneans at this time, where no war, no day, not the country, and the country peaceful. So I really want to know if now the appropriate time is for let them implement the PR system. So I tell you, thank you. Now these two questions like for
Unfortunately, the line being go off. I don't get the second question, whether the appropriate time is for implement the PR system. Which is the first question, please? Thank you.
The first question, he was saying, when you were relieved of your post as Attorney General, you not been informed the people of Sierra Leone, and also the government self not been make any statements. Why was that the case?
I must concede the president get the right for hire and fire. and suppose for go on the air and give reasons why make a fire. But I go expect, say, out of decency, if I make the people they know waiting the person where they fire do, we make it fire them. So that tomorrow they not go blame them. So the reason why make me being keep quiet, now because president not go on the air or even writes me and tell me what he make it fire me. One Monday, even 10 by 7 o'clock, me and my wife been sit down at the sitting room with they watch football on television. Now, Professor Francis called me on the mobile phone. He said, President say he don't relieve you of your duty as Attorney General and Minister of Justice. He don't already replace somebody else. So now I tell Professor Francis, I say, tell President say, not to over telephone, he be appoint me. I say, much as I appreciate the fact that he get the right for hire and fire, but I want for know what I do wrong, so that tomorrow I know repeat the same thing. I say, so tell him thank you for the opportunity we been give me for serve as Attorney General. So the next day, I left. Before I go to my chambers, I pass all the officers' department. I go congratulate my successor, Mrs. Schwartz, for show maturity. So now that make a not been talk. In fact, the rumor we been they go round where Napoleon Brewer then contribute to, then say me don't go McKinney to former President Nkrumah. I go tell him, but inquiry, Commission of Inquiry will get for hold. So he give me $15,000. Now I say, but una molest me $15. I pass $15,000. I say, but when I get them mobile, where they call them, now then toll gates them. If una can bring proof for sure, say una been see me across in the last 12 months, across Waterloo, then I go concede. Because after that election, it took me 12 months before I go offline. So it was a fallacy, a malicious one. So when I tell President Nkrumah, I say, I saw them say, when I laugh, he laugh. He said, if President Bio been go on radio and talk waiting then talk, he said, me before go on radio and debunk him. He said, but where he not go on radio, and he said, me and you just ignore the whole thing. That was what happened. Now, the PR system, as I've been saying, honestly speaking, I prefer the PR system to first past the post. My only problem was now the way we then go about for implement the PR system. I refiled at the Supreme Court and originating notice of motion, Mr. Conner, for being Chief Electoral Commissioner. On two grounds. One, now being public official at the time they appoint him, he not being resigned as required by Section 76(1)(b) of the Constitution. And by that one of the Constitution, once they receive remuneration or salary from the consolidated fund, you're a public official. But over and above that, Section 77, 1C talks Section 70, Section 32. That for you occupy the position of Commissioner of the Electoral System, you for be a registered voter, Natsaliun. At the time Kone was appointed, he was not a registered voter. And let me say this now, when that matter come up for hearing, if they make any attempt for falsify the records, the law will take in course. That's all. Because I have details of everything.
Okay, do we get any
Thank you very
caller?
much.
I think so. We got another caller.
We get callers, yeah. Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's that to call from?
Yes, thank
Hello,
you very
caller.
much, Mr. Ahmed, the call from UK. Thank you, Mr. Mengos and Mr. Margai. You know, I do a very great work, and I wish actually the one day we can and listen. You know, some of we actually we don't know how the rule of Sheikh Stephen was. Some of us grew up within the war time, and then we see what happened with students and so on and so forth. And when, like what Mr. Margai mentioned, as they went to the camp, of course, the trained professional police. I know Francis Kunu was one, this fully far and stuff without they Francis Kunu got me up when I come up in the same area. So we see that the police was more or less professional a bit anyway. We know there are some small problems now. But what is some of we they talk? At this present moment, to me, as a young man grew up there and do schooling, go to university, I feel that this time is the worst time I've ever seen a policeman kill somebody because of land, just mere argument is tire, the trigger, the fire straight away. These are things we don't forget about. Your brother been at the army. After the war, I not ever see with a gun because every time, then before then they move it gun because it can house and stuff, we don't know. But never at that point in time again, after I don't restructure the British come back for carry train them and stuff, so they become very disciplined, as well as the police as well. But today, look at it today happen today. I just want to say, just like what you guys said, let me ask this question. How comes they appoint this Mr. Kone when in fact meet the criteria and nobody challenged that at that point in time, we then assistant politician never challenged this man in record, and that led me to who shall we do to today. That's a question. Again, if I did talk about the judiciary, make I just finish. When I talk about the judiciary, so if I look at
the challenge them. If you Google the debate where them in a parliament over the appointment, it was a fractious debate. Them in divided. People there oppose them on two scores. One, that he had been a civil servant or a public official, even for don't resign 12 months, which he did not do. And number two, he was not a registered voter.
All right.
So,
okay.
Electoral commissioner or the commission being go falsify a document before parliament for sure say in a been registered voter. So when the MPs then were on the other side insist, say they for bring the register of voters, the original, they did not produce them. Well, media ask them for producer who will go Supreme Court. If they venture for lie, they will go jail for contempt and perjury. 51 people, 51 MPs, then be opposed in appointment. So that gives you about 40% of the members of parliament will be opposed in appointment. But we all know what's in the happen in parliament. Whether a dollar being crossed, not a dollar crossed, I don't know. But they end up they approve them. But history will prove.
All right. Okay. So again, yes, if I can come back to that point, because you look at the genocide that happened today, apart from all of this killing, look at the laws the way people are set with the campaign structure. And now we see, look at that in the southeast. People in the block road and they chat other people, then the case and all the blue side, and they end up arresting the opposition. So how would they view all of these things towards the election? This now, so me, I see as in a recipe to war, na chaos. We will not ever experience. You can understand, sir, the past government, yeah, let's say they may get some problem. But will not be the president kind of problem there. Now, what will the face towards election? When the present government will be in a position, we see what they all will go along saying. But we'll not be going to them kind of problem actually, what will they face again? Look at who young ones who will be in a prison today. Somebody like a musician. They get that for 9 years just because they get like a fight in the petrol station and stuff. A judge sentenced her for 9 good years. So how on earth then can cases they continue for past the judiciary who see them kind hopeful, judgments they are? How the minds of the people,
Thank you very much. Thank you. I promise you, when I file this motion tomorrow by God in power, I the publisher and the newspaper them, I the publisher and the website, I they send them copies to the international community because they get lawyer, they make themselves look come. So that this time round, the judiciary gonna say not to play with the play. Now people their lives will they try for save now this country. Because me self when a presidential candidate for PMDC, ECSL not give me date for campaign. Imagine. When I say, but me a presidential candidate, how come I don't nominate? I pay fees, I don't fulfill the requirements when I not give me date. What in Connect tell me? No, you can go campaign on any of the dates who don't give them independent candidate. Not to a recipe for disaster that, because if the independent candidate in the campaign point A, then me go there at the campaign. Then SLPP then say go there then the campaign. What thing will happen? No problem. So these are some of the lapses. And not only that, PMDC, they not allow we for nominate now 8 out of the 16 districts. All they inside this petition. Una go see and tomorrow. Secret not there about her.
Okay, we get one more caller.
Okay, more caller on the line.
Yeah, hello caller. What's your name?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I just want to tell Una, thank you for these brilliant discussions. At least we pray to God, at least follow God, give Una the well body and the life. Yeah, for this very educative discussion. At least this day even give some hope to we the Sierra Leoneans, them both home and abroad. Yeah, Margai, just one question. I just want to know why, how you just so be pragmatic. You understand? What actually they help you, sir, for the talk or for the do what you they able to do so. Yeah, because you really look wonderful. I just believe, say, if we Sierra Leoneans there outside Sierra Leone, can able for mobilize, and for give a big support to this with daddy. You understand? Because it's really progressive. These are the kind of people where we want at this time, for making able left a legacy for this country. Because the country is really sad. When right now you even go now Google, you type Sierra Leone, you feel sad about the issues that way they come up. Even colleagues them where they work with outside the world and they ask every day what thing they happen with our country. You see, because they see anything where they portray good, all the time they portray bad things them. If they're not tell we about killings where they happen in our country, then we'll talk about, we'll say about diseases. So it's really sad, you see. So Margai, at least keep on the good job. And let God give you the long life, Yeah, because the life now gets everything, pa. Me not still see say some people they think, oh, maybe the age or this. If God ever marks in at a particular age, you will get that thing there. You understand? It must happen. You see? And really, I hope, say, pa, you go still continue for they come out. Because they really move. Especially we where they outside this country, pa. We really, you see, this silence when you be the silencer, please, sir, at least. No go silence again, pa. Dear Mr. Margai. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Now,
Back
they
to
keep
you,
me going.
Lawyer Margai.
In God, me faith. Now, me faith in God. Me know the one day sacrifice fall, so day in it. You can't, you go see small altar, and there I can go sit down, I talk to me God in my own language. I put me problems, the country in problems, them to them. Now that they keep me going. And I believe, say, the hour don't reach, as somebody will say, let us not say, because we daddy na the SLPP, who can be more SLPP than Charles Margai? When I'm uncle, me daddy, then found SLPP. But you see, actually, like a Sierra Leone, mismanagement and lack of leadership. I make with ABN, so always we they go big. We proud say America don't promise we 40 million. What's in 40 million? I sure say any of them minister are with they now, or in past government, they can knock them chest, then vomit 40 million blood no come out. But by the grace of the Almighty, if we not talk to una people them, this time round, make them not follow color, make them not follow tribe, make them vote for who that them believe say go redeem this nation. Sierra Leone will be a haven by the grace of the Almighty. I don't already talk to some lawyers who don't begin take note of who that then they cause trouble in the country. They go attack people them, etc., etc. Irrespective of which party win, we the volunteer, we don't want 1 cent. We they prosecute the one then where they push the bobo them for go cause trouble, as well as the bobo them where they cause the trouble. So if Wahala meet you, now you cause them. Thank you.
Mr. Mengot, back to you.
Yes, Mr. Margai, you said the brief one we don't give, will not go to them. But now, the one thing we will look at now, which is very critical, because the other one when a government and parliamentary reform, we don't talk on and small. But the key thing now, this issue of political alliances and the relevance in our voting system. Because as we know, this is not the first time you don't go per alliance. Remember the days of when we begin, we talk about John Sad, who you brought in PMDC, right? And with Anes Kroma. And then in 2018, although it's not a formal alliance, you support President Bio during the second round. And I'm sure that makes so if he appoints you as Attorney General, albeit short-lived. So educate me more about the political alliance, because now we don't see Kanda Yumkela don't get a strategic alliance, which for me is very strange. I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty. But we also say, and this law will make people they know I'm saying. Mr. Margai not ever left PMDC go APC. Because people in the talk say you don't go APC. Me can tell you categorically say never left PMDC go APC. But it they line up an alliance with C4P and other parties support APC. So if you can comment on that for which I'll go gladly.
Now, Mischief, thank you very much. You see, this rumor we go around say I left PMDC go APC. Now some SLPP people them they try to be mischievous. Just like how them you say me go McKinney to former President Kuruma, go tell and certain information for making give me $15,000. Now, when I go recall, say in 2007, I must be honest now, yeah. One day, Anes no can me post and say, Charles, I want to make you support me party. Neither he send somebody for talk to me. Now, me sit down, the one that where they conduct the elections, they don't rob we of victory, because 2007, na PMDC and APC been qualified for the runoff. We have been take up here, na me host with John Benjamin. He say, oh, Brad Charles, that not true, but do you allow forget about time? It don't be, we go come big. I say, make we take the lesser of two evils. and give them with for make APC go to the southeast, go campaign, and then they stone them. Now me and them go foot to foot, we go campaign. And when we campaign, we all see the result. Me and Anes not get any problem at all. The only person will bring cham between we and Wef over we land, but that we don't settle them. Now history now. Now in 2018, Madabio he come with Kanjas, he say, now Madabio grab, he want go hold me foot. Now I say, Bogo Sido, I say that very primitive. I say, me Wef know what you not there for. We don't decide they give you the opportunity. Now you government. Now I say, oh, Brad Charles, all right, I don't hear it. I go discuss them with my advisors, etc., etc. So I meet some advisors, some now father, some now ordinary people, them, and then say, do you have for the sake of the country, make the international community go take it seriously. If now 1 or 2 years accept the position of Attorney General and Minister of Justice. And not only that, Brewer then go meet President Bio. He called me. He said, some of you colleagues then say, see, you don't succeed. Now I say, no. I say with respect to them, they don't read the Constitution. If they read and say they don't understand. I say you can bring a copy of the portion talk about. He not talk about presidential candidate will not succeed. He talk about parliamentary candidate will not succeed. I say now the two differences then one here. So that was how I became Attorney General and Minister of Justice. But then, me self Naya, it take me unawares because people them don't tell me secretly say President Bio then get a secret plan. For make I did it 3 months, then they go pull me, then bring Schwartz. Waiting at Schwartz in connection, I know I'm for going to that at their private life. So exactly when the 3 months reach, 9 them prove them, people them will give me the information right. Me self up to now, if I tell you say I know why make President Bio pull me na lie. Pass no more, I go the guess like how we all the guess. But I hope say President Bio go find them convenient one day, make he come on radio or television and say, now this Mr. Margai been supposed for do what he not do, or now this he do what he not do and Korea and grave. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Menga.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, in continuation, how you see this idea of political party alliance as we go towards this election in 2 weeks' time? These alliances, are they meaningful? Will they make any difference? And I'll tell you why.
Well, this alliance,
Kenya,
this alliance is deepening. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kenya, when this Kenya, I always wish we could do that. When Kenya, they go into alliances, but before they go into the alliance, the two opposing sides at that time, which was Raila Odinga and Mwai Kibaki, come together and look at constitutional review, where they change a lot of things, making the independence of the judiciary, devolution of powers, and all those things. And since then, in Kenya, we've always had political alliance for let them win. So, for me, my hope is that if we can get an alliance here, and most of the presidential candidates know they talk about that. I think so you will have much on that, is that what is urgently needed is a root and branch review of our constitution. And I'll tell you why. The power of the political parties for for disenfranchise somebody if the person not due to the tune. The other fact that you can stand as an independent candidate for MP, but not as president. And other issues in the constitution, one way so dear to me heart, now the fact that the president now they appoints the clerk of parliament, who is the administrator. And that clerk of parliament, if the president appoints them, now the president in bidding they do. We see this outgoing clerk, some of the things that will happen in parliament. So let's talk about this issue now. Yeah? Constitutional review, parliamentary reform, and waiting are your vision.
Thank you. Well, my own vision is very simple. I mean, talking about the clerk of parliament, we hear then days here say he take uniform people, them he go falaba, he go intimidate people then run away, go na bush, some man wound, etc., etc. We dey investigate all them things and they. As I say, if at the end of the exercise we find out say he call people, he'll have to stand trial. Now, this particular alliance is very unique. Unique in the sense that now 7 political parties, including they don't come together for fight this election in unison. But the difference is that all of the political parties, them, we come together, they maintain their individualism. So we not go say me because me na a member of the alliance, therefore me na APC. No. Now the goal na in common and how for approach na in common. The interest is Mama Salom, way big past any of the political parties, way big past any individual in this country. So the alliance take this form. We in a PMDC, we see say APC get dominance now the northern province, the entire north. Now we not put candidate there, we not go split the votes. Now the western area we not put candidates for parliament because APC get an edge over all the political parties them. They will not split the vote. So we expect APC for reciprocate, in other words, for do the same thing na the south and east. Because SLPP and PMDC, they all two, they claim the south and east as the bastion. Now the stronghold and they one and they, which is true. But the idea say PMDC, if they not be the cheatway along the road, we get edge over SLPP. The reason being that we not take over governance yet. SLPP we don't take over governance on different occasions. So the people that are able to assess them. We not take governance state. So an objective point of view. So if after the election, SLPP and APC then go runoff, will they support APC? If PMDC and SLPP go runoff, the alliance, they support PMDC. But if PMDC and APC go runoff, we know they waste the people their time and money. Will they go into an arrangement, power sharing arrangement, like you have na France or na Ireland between Gale and Finafoil. APC will take the first 2.5 years. After that, then PMDC take over or vice versa. Now the arrangement that one day. So anybody where they go around say Mr. Margai don't see, when I ask him, you don't see Mr. Margai membership card. Obviously, if you belong to a political party, you must get political party card. Now mischief making no more.
Yes, Mr. Shillon, you want to continue because after this, I think Mr. Margai don't be generous to it. And in terms of the time, I mean, we go like if you answer
You know,
anything,
say
but
allowance
at least at this hour, it don't go almost 2 hours. It don't
the
go
world
almost
over.
2 hours. You can give we imparting shot of vision for Sierra Leone. Mickey always put and say, the Sierra Leone we want.
Well,
Mr. Sheila, you
that
want to
would
give
be
a comment?
yeah, no, my comment is simply going to be, since we're running out of time, and Mr. Margai has been so gracious and so explicit and so impressive in terms of waiting the kind of leadership we want to provide for the country, I could just ask him for do a summation as to if he were to be president. I always can use the Martin Luther King phrase. I will assume he has gone to the mountaintop and he's seen above and beyond. Let me tell you what you see. Whether I see hope, whether I see inspiration, whether I see aspiration, whether I see success, or see nothing past despair. So, Mr. Margai, I will ask you, make you just tell me what you see, sir, since you want to be a leader of the country.
Thank you very much. All the inside with manifesto now, a 12-pillar manifesto. I just read the headings them. Uniting Sierra Leone. Because Sierra Leone is now divided on tribal lines, if not religious lines. Providing affordable and sustainable food security. How will they do it all the day? We'll not just put heading. Then number 3, provide for Sierra Leoneans, not to just education, the rule of law. That one day it upper boost than my mind. Then road safety for prevent unnecessary or wanton accidents. Empowerment, the disabled, gender empowerment, and the PMDC government will address the needs of vulnerable communities, such as beggars, stabilizing the economy. Then we get devolution of power / responsibility. Since I mean, don't pass this act for devolve power to the councils, certain ministries then reluctant. You and me and you know what you do, but we will ensure say that one day happen. Children's welfare, international relations, those are the things we hope to address. But over and above that, I want to tell the people of Sierra Leone, say, CF Margai na a game changer. When I trust me na the only leading politician we can raise me hand up, say, nobody no ever accuse me of corruption, violence, etc., etc. I'm respectful to everybody, irrespective of your status. The only thing is, I mean, a no-nonsense man. I make them afraid me. When I say A, because I feel say A, go back to logical conclusion. Before I go, I thank Una very much, Una the organizers them of this opportunity, not just for me, not just for the people of Sierra Leone, but the world over. I go ask Una indulgence, make me daughter, when serve na a candidate, a parliamentary candidate for Moyamba district, for make an appeal to well-wishers, listeners, we believe in me dreams, me ideology, for contribute towards the faithful effect, financially or in whatever form they be able. Even the widows might will be welcome. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.
Permission
Thank you very
granted,
much. Thank you. So until next week,
before we close, in daughter they come. Yeah, he asked for a request for daughter talk to us. Yes,
I misunderstood that. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Miss Margai.
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Gwatima Margai, candidate for Member of Parliament, Moyamba District. I just to give me phone number if anybody want contact with or support the PMDC party. The time is short, but every little helps. It's 030-275733. 030-275733. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll continue to spread your message. If you get any campaign message, you can send it to me. You get with contact. I'm engaged in a lot of social media platform. I think I'll be able to do some publicity for you.
Okay.
I'm sure you have my number and you have my number of our co-producer. That's the
Okay,
best thing.
thank you.
As you see when you listen to the show, you see we get people from Abu Dhabi we call.
Thank you.
We get people from America. We get people from Salon. We get people from all over. So we are the people's voice. So we would like to support you on that. So we wish you good luck. And we'll be watching.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Over
you
to
very
Mr.
much.
Shilon. I see that. Okay, you have a blessed week. Yeah.
Wrap it up for us, Mr. Mengot. Wrap it up for us.
I see we producer been say we get one call on the line because do we want to take that call or we're just going to wrap it up?
No, we don't have any more callers.
Okay.
I don't think.
Before we're telling a thank you. Today, we don't get a sage. I will call him a sage. It's a man that I've known for quite some time. I call him Uncle Charles. And he can express in views then to we. And we're glad even after the election, we want to bring him back for let's tell we more. In Africa, we say when an old man dies, a whole library is lost. So as some of we callers them, they say, let's not keep silent. We're ready for share this information from this library and that brain of over 51 years of legal practice, political battles, and also ideology in our country. So we thank you all for being there with me this time. And me, when the co-host, Victor Mengot, and the state Tata. So let me pass it to me, the host, the venerable lawyer, Mohamed Shilon, for LSFG, the final word.
Thank you very much to our listeners there, with dedicated listeners, and to the new ones there. I hope when I find this episode of rebroadcasting today interesting, fascinating, engaging, and so when I can spread the word around, I will continue for live up to an expectation. So as usual, we also the give opportunity, and Lawyer Margai was so gracious for listening to some of the questions then and suggestions and making your own comments. So he was in fact part of us. He was not only a guest, but he was like a presenter as well. So we greatly, the presenters them, appreciate on our participation, and we hope and will continue for good with the support. And like we say, this is not for the good for the country. So make we try for spread the country, the interest of the country forward. Until then, good night, goodbye. Thanks for listening.